Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. Got a good show for you here today, guys. I'm going to be talking to you guys about players that I want you to avoid this coming season. So I'm going to start right here with the first player on my list, and that is Breece Hall. Now, I'm aware that this guy is an immense talent. He's got a great role in his offense. And last year, before he went down with his injury, he was looking like he had the chance to be the running back one in all of fantasy. So obviously, this guy is going to have a great career in the NFL as long as he can stay healthy going forward. But we know, based on a long history of fantasy football, that players that are coming back from major ACL tears, major ACL injuries, they just don't really return to form until 2 years after their major injury. So, we saw it with Saquon 2 years ago, right? His first year back from his major ACL injury, was afraid to make jump cuts, just really wasn't himself, and averaged less than 4 yards a carry. Now, granted, the team also had a bad offensive line, so that didn't help. But the fact of the matter is, running backs usually, almost always, under any circumstance, take 2 years to recover from this type of injury. We saw it with Saquon last year. He came back and was absolutely awesome because he actually had enough time to recover from his injury. And it takes 2 years for running backs to be 100% after an injury of this nature. So, Breece Hall, I think we should avoid him this year and just take him in next year's draft. You have to pay a second-round draft price to get him, and that's just way too pricey for a running back that probably isn't going to be nearly at 100%. And is probably going to underperform due to his injury that he had last season. So I'm going to say avoid Breece Hall at all costs because he's just not going to be ready to go for a couple years. All right, next player on my list is going to be Dalvin Cook. Now, Dalvin Cook has been steadily declining as a fantasy running back. Now, my biggest problem with Dalvin Cook has always been his ability to stay healthy. But this past season, he actually played all 17 games. So that's a very good sign, right? But the fact of the matter is, the offense in Minnesota just doesn't run through Dalvin Cook anymore. It runs through Justin Jefferson. We know that Justin Jefferson receives almost all the work for the offense. I mean, this is a wide receiver who gets like a 35% team target share. So many of the plays in the offense run through Justin Jefferson. So, Dalvin Cook is seeing less targets out of the backfield. He's seeing less rushing opportunities. His overall carry count has declined steadily each of the past 3 seasons. And in 17 games this past year, he only had 264 carries. For playing a full season, you really want the carry count to be higher, for a running back that you expect to have elite fantasy production. So even though this guy is slipping to like the 3rd round, I would just avoid him altogether. I wouldn't even take this guy in the 5th round. I don't trust him whatsoever. He's getting kind of up there in overall carry count. We know that he's injury prone, even though he played a full season last season, and they just don't feed him the ball enough. The rushing efficiency is down. There are so many red flags with Dalvin Cook. I would not waste a pick on him, and I would avoid him at all costs. Next player on my list is going to be Terry McLaurin. Now, Terry McLaurin is obviously an elite talent. I've talked a lot about Terry McLaurin on my podcast. I really like this guy's talent. I mean, I love this guy's talent. I think he's one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL. He's got world-class speed, world-class size and power and route running abilities. I mean, this guy is absolutely awesome. But for whatever reason, they just won't give him consistent target share, and they never have. I mean, this is a guy who it doesn't look like he's ever going to average more than 9 targets a game in his offense. Probably not even going to average more than 8 targets a game in the offense, especially now that Jahan Dotson is on the team, eating up a lot of the team's target share. And this is a guy who has never eclipsed more than 5 touchdowns, despite playing pretty much every game in his career. He's been in the NFL for 3 seasons. He's only missed 1 game in those 3 seasons. And still hasn't had a season where he scored more than 5 touchdowns. So the fact of the matter is, he just doesn't give you the touchdown upside that you want. He doesn't get you the overall reception count that you want. And now he has more competition for targets. So I would just avoid Terry McLaurin altogether. I think that he pretty much gets overdrafted like every single season. And I think he's an easy player to avoid this year. So don't waste a pick on him. Next player on my list is going to be Najee Harris. Now, this is a guy who has been ridiculously inefficient as far as his yards per carry efficiency since coming into the league. All right, been in the league for 2 seasons. His first season, 3.9 yards per carry. This last season, 3.8 yards per carry. The fact of the matter is, this guy lacks the true elite talent that you want in a running back that you're going to take as one of your first 3 picks. I mean, he doesn't have top-end speed, and we know that running backs that don't have top-end speed tend to disappoint because they just don't provide enough big playability. This guy has not busted a run of more than 50 yards in his entire NFL career, playing 2 full seasons. That is a major red flag. I don't like drafting Najee Harris whatsoever. And on top of all of this, if you look at the target share he sees out of the backfield, his first season he had 74 receptions. This past season, that dropped all the way down to 41 receptions. And that's very much because of the quarterback change, right? His first season he played with Big Ben when Big Ben was, at the very end of his career, and he couldn't sling the ball down the field anymore. So they were dumping the ball off to Najee Harris out of the backfield more often than not because Big Ben just couldn't throw the ball down the field. Now, we have the young Kenny Pickett at quarterback, and he can actually throw the ball down the field. So they're going to be a lot more of a passing offense as opposed to just feeding Najee Harris the ball like crazy. So I would avoid Najee Harris altogether. The efficiency is terrible. The overall reception count is significantly down from this past season than it was in his first season, and it's probably not going to get any better this year because they're just not going to throw him as many passes out of the backfield, and he's just not an elite talent. He's not fast enough to provide really good fantasy upside because he really just lacks big playability. Next player and final player on my list is going to be Derrick Henry. Now, obviously, this guy is an incredibly talented running back. As of right now, he's 29 years old. Okay, we know that running backs, they just don't do well at that age, right? 1,750 career carries as well. So, he's way over the carry count that you want in a running back. I tell people to avoid running backs that have over 1,300 career carries. This guy has over 1,750 career carries. That is a ridiculously high carry count to expect elite fantasy production. Now, obviously, the same case could have been made for him coming into last season because coming into last season, he was already pretty high up there in carry count. So, that and considering the fact that, he's on an offense that really isn't all that great, it just didn't seem like Derrick Henry was the guy to draft going into last season. However, he far exceeded expectations and was still a very productive running back. But I just don't think he could keep this production going on very much longer. I mean, 1,750 career carries, 29 years old. He's way over the carry count. He's way over the age limit that you want to expect for elite fantasy production. So I think we're finally going to see Derrick Henry decline a little bit this coming season just due to the overall usage. Nothing to do with the talent. The dude's still immensely talented, but he's just been used up so much that I don't think we should invest an early pick on him. Saying that you're going to draft a running back with over 1,700 career carries in one of the first 2 rounds of the draft is just absolutely ridiculous. I would avoid this guy altogether. All right, guys. I appreciate you tuning into the video. I will catch you later.